Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro,
like-
less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark It Down podcast. It's Thursday night. You know what that means. I'm James Gisanti, and the Mark It Down podcast becomes the Gym Pack Zone as we cover everything TNA on this fine edition of Impact. We were promised a major main event. We were promised a huge main event in this Champions Challenge match where we had 8 people on both sides. This was a 16-person tag team match. Champions versus All-Stars of TNA. And it was a little messy, but it was a lot of fun. We'll get into it in a second, but we're going to start with the top of the show, as we were greeted with some elegance, some Ash by elegance, actually. I am a big proponent of her. There you go. I'm a big proponent of this turnaround for Ash. I really want this TNA run to work well for her. I know how much work she's putting into this. I think she has so many elements together. I think she has so many I think she has so many components to make this work for her. And I really hope that we get to it. I really hope that we see it blossom the way I know she wants it to and the way I hope it does. I don't know that we're fully there yet. I think we're hitting some road bumps just a little bit and trying to figure these things out. I think there's been some slightly inconsistent booking, but overall, I am enjoying this. And we had Ash taking on Xia Brookside. The match started with Ash trying to insert her own referee in the form of her concierge, the Iceman himself. It didn't really go her way, but that was fine. And she was attacked by Brookside to put her on the defensive right away. The match went outside, and Ash tried to take over. She did take over, delivering some loud chops to Brookside right on the chest. Brookside really, her facial expressions really sold it, and it was a nice heelish way to keep the match to get the match started. After we got inside again, Xia connected with a Luthez press, and she started to really take some control of the action. Ash rolled out to the floor to try and regroup, but was continued the onslaught by Brookside. Ash fought back to take the lead and quickly hit her finisher for the 1-2-3. So again, this was a perfectly fine match. Nothing bad happened. There was nothing inherently wrong with it, but I think it's fair to say it didn't really it didn't hit that next gear that it should have to really be a barn burner. It should be noted that this match had the stipulation that if Ash won, Brookside would return the jewelry she took from her, or I guess stole from her, or captured from her. And after the match, after Ash did win, as the referee was presenting the jewelry to Ash, she demands that Brookside is the one to hand it to her. And Brookside definitely handed it to her as she punched her right in the face with the jewelry, knocking her out, leaving her down in the ring, and Brookside, despite the loss, walking out on top. It'll be interesting to see if this feud continues. I don't necessarily know it needs to. I think both would be better off going in separate directions, but we'll see. We'll see. I could see Ash not wanting to let things go here. Moving on, we had a video package playing for Rosemary. Now, I really like this. There were some references to her old team. There were references to Havoc, who is unfortunately out hurt right now. There were references to Taya Valkyrie. There was even a reference to the bunny, Allie. I thought that was really cool. I thought I shouldn't be shocked, but it was cool to see everybody who's played such a big part in her life be mentioned here. Rosemary explaining that these people were what kept her human. And now that they're gone, she's going to be something else. I'm all for a Rosemary singles run. I've talked at length in the past that despite really enjoying the Decay or the Death Dolls or whatever team she was really a part of, it just felt like a revolving door for the Knockouts tag team titles. So inject some new blood into the singles division as we're trying to figure out the tag team division right now. We then go backstage where Kushida is in the locker room and Santino Marella comes in and asks if he's feeling okay after the match with Jonathan Gresham last week, or at the pay-per-view. Kushida said that he was feeling sick, but he feels better now. Santino says that after his last interaction with Gresham, he was sick for a week. Santino then asks Kushida if he's going to be okay for his match on Explosion tomorrow, and Kushida said it won't be a problem. We're going to touch on this in a little bit. We then go to our first males match of the night as Leon Slater took on Alan Angels. Now, you guys know I am a fan of Alan Angels, Dark Order for life. And I've really been enjoying this new turn for the character as this pompous talk show host, like millennial, I guess Zoomer. I don't know how old he is, but I think he's like a Zoomer gimmick of his, and I think it's been working. But they were not really the highlight of this match, despite it being good. I could also say that Leon Slater is somebody I don't have really any exposure to, if like I've ever seen him before. But I think he was really good in this match. Showed a lot of athleticism, showed a lot of speed and a lot of heart, and the crowd seemed to react well to him. The match ended with a Swanton 450. It was a picture-perfect move, in my opinion. But again, there was more story to this, because going back to the Kushida bit, the referee who got inked on by Gresham at the pay-per-view a week and a half ago, he showed up at ringside and ink was pouring out of his mouth. He seemed ill. He seemed confused. He seemed disoriented. And it took the entire referee team to come pull him out and bring him backstage. I'm never really a fan of antics happening outside of a match that have nothing to do with the match, distracting from the guys performing in the ring. I thought this was a big win for Slater, and I wouldn't have taken that away from him with these antics. It's fine. Again, that win looked nice. I wasn't crazy about that. We then, after the match, Big Khan comes to the ring and he just manhandled Angels and then does that neck breaker, neck snapper move that he does. I'm just not crazy about it because the delivery there's no way to do that move realistically without actually hurting somebody. So it just never looks like he's actually doing anything. Although I will say in this instance, Angels sold it beautifully. He did sell it like death. But in general, I'm just not crazy about that maneuver. But after that beatdown onto Angels, coming from their interaction last week on Angels Talk Show, Slater took offense to that and attacked Big Khan. I thought Khan was going to drop him as well, but Slater held his own. Slater looked really good, and despite being just the quicker of the two, he didn't seem like the smaller of the two. He had a presence on him that made him feel like Khan's equal. After throwing Khan out of the ring, security ran up to keep Khan from going back in. He grabbed one of the guards and then does that neck snap thing again, and he tells Slater he's his. He's coming for him. We'll see where we go from there. We then had on the ramp an interview with Jake something as he's being interviewed by Gabby Laspisa. Gabby, who had some trouble last week with Ash by Elegance, that trouble continued here. Jake took issue with a comment from Gabby about his recent loss and said that he didn't lose. It was Diener who lost. And he didn't appreciate being made to feel like a loser. This brings out Cody Diener to assure Jake that he is in fact something and that the people are with him. Jake brought up that Diener, despite saying, hey, we're cousins, we're family, said, well, you abandoned me for Violent by Design. Diener said that he's right. He did abandon him, and he was wrong for taking the wrong path for years. He looked at Jake, apologized, and begged for forgiveness. Jake wouldn't take it, and he leveled him with a clothesline and just beat him down. I'm upset. I like Jake something, and I think he has a lot of promise as a face. I think he has a lot that he could offer as a baby face. And I know that he's in a tough spot right now with there being no room for him in really any of the title pictures. As a singles guy, he looked great in the X division, but it felt a little gimmicky given his size. He doesn't really work for the Digital Media Championship, although that's a whole other conversation in terms of how you handle that title. And he's not quite ready for the world title scene. So maybe a heel turn will give him some momentum, but I was kind of looking forward to him and Diener maybe going for the tag titles because I do think that division needs some fresh blood. I don't know, but hey, I am a fan of Jake something, babyface or not, so God willing, this turned into a nice little run for him. We then go backstage as Speedball Mountain is being interviewed by Gia Miller. She brought up their victory last week over the ABC and how it's now going to result in them squaring off in a one-on-one match next week to determine the number one contender for the X Division Championship held by Mustafa Ali. They talked about how their paths have taken them to an abrupt crossroads for next week's show and that this will be the first time that these guys have ever wrestled. They formed Speedball Mountain to show what it means to be at the very top of TNA and what it means to be at the top of their division, and this is going to be an exciting matchup. I am 100% rooting for Speedball Mike Bailey. Nothing against Trent Seven, but man, I need Speedball to get good things. He deserves them. He's too damn good not to get them. But we go back to the ring as Frankie Kazarian takes on Steve Macklin. The bell sounded and Kaz demanded that the ring announcer do it over and tell all these idiots that he is the one and only king in TNA. After Jade obliged, Macklin clotheslined Kazarian over the top rope and out onto the floor. We hit commercial very early, and when the break ended, we saw Kazarian had settled, sort of taking the lead offensively after hitting a stomp to the throat of Macklin, who was draped over the bottom rope. After some back and forth, Macklin does take the offensive, and he does take a little bit of the lead when out comes Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, who is dressed like a little rascal. I don't really know. I don't know. I feel my age when I see the Rascals. I like them a lot, but Jesus, they dress like they should be tag teaming with Alfalfa and Spanky. As he is making the distraction and distracts the ref at the ramp, Zachary Wentz comes into the ring and sprays Macklin's eyes, allowing Kaz to hit the fade to black for the win. Good matchup. I know I didn't really cover all the good stuff, but I'm really digging Macklin as a babyface. I called this potential turn a while ago that I think it's something that he needed to freshen himself up, and I think it's something that TNA needs. I am all in on a babyface Macklin running the gauntlet and going for the world title at some point, and the crowd seems to be into him. So keep it up. I love this. Go check this match out. It was definitely the best singles match of the night and quite possibly the best match of the night. So good showing from both men. Kazarian, who keeps proving that this return to TNA was the right move for him because he just wasn't getting the love he deserved in AEW, and he's in a much cushier spot here. And Macklin rebuilding as a babyface, great move. We then go. I actually got to apologize to you guys. I didn't cover this segment last week because it was so short and I didn't really know what to make of it. But we're following up on it with Giselle Shaw, who we haven't seen in a while after losing at another attempt at the Knockouts title. It seems that she is on a retreat. She is kind of fallen back into herself just a little bit. And Gail Kim came to her last week saying they needed to talk. As that continued, Shaw spoke about coming up short in that title match, and Kim telling her it's okay. Everybody loses title matches. She knows she has. But Shaw pointing out that at least Gail has won the title. Gail assured Shaw that everyone needs a helping hand and guidance at some point, and if she needs that, she will be that person for Giselle. Shaw asks her, where are you going to guide her? And Gail said, home. I'm very into this. It seems like we're going to get a very different Giselle Shaw. A little sad because I did like the quintessential diva gimmick that Giselle had, but I've been saying over and over, she's been putting in the work. She's been getting better and better with every appearance. It's only a matter of time before she wins that Knockouts title. And if this gets us closer, let's do it. All in. We then have a sit-down interview. I'm loving these sit-down interviews that Tom Hannafin does with the talent. This is part 2 with Mike Santana. This was a little bit more of an emotional week as Santana talks about his life, as we all knew, having a lot of turmoil, having lost both his father and his stepfather. He spoke about needing to get clean and that his daughter begged him to stop and that he did have that stint in rehab. They even showed the letter from the daughter along with several photos of Santana with his family getting, he got choked up. He described this real life-changing situation for him. And Tom discussed how he did come out the other end of this on what could be a very successful story. It then switched over to Santana's issues with Macklin. Santana spoke about the respect he has for Macklin, whom he referred to as a true fighter like himself. Santana assured everyone he's hungrier than ever, and he reiterates his vow to take spots from people in TNA. Whether anyone likes it or not, he is here to go. Look, I like Santana. I was never crazy about his AEW departure. I'm always a big believer in if people have faith in themselves, they should take it. But I just felt that certain things could have been handled, particularly his breaking off of it with his tag team partner Ortiz. All that said, I am rooting for him. He is killing it in House of Glory right now as the House of Glory World Champion. He's carrying himself like a true champion. And I think that can translate here into TNA. So I'm rooting for him. Let's see how this goes. It's time to get him back in the ring, in my opinion. And let's see if the crowd is as into him as he hopes they will be. We then go back to the VIP box in Albany as the first class, obviously AJ Francis and Rich Swann, are hungry for championships in TNA. AJ introduced himself to the crowd and got loud boos. They talked about it being time for them to get their hands on some TNA championships. Swan said it doesn't matter which title it is because first class are scouting for gold. The more gold, the more money that they'll get. I didn't appreciate saying that. I apologize, guys. Bear with me. And they said, because if you're not first class, you're last. And Ricky Bobby agrees. Ricky Bobby definitely agrees. All right. We then go to our main event, the Champions Challenge match. As on the champion side, we have the System World Champion Moose, Tag Team Champions Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, and one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Alicia Edwards, along with her co-champion, Masha Slamovich. We had X Division Champion Mustafa Ali. We had Digital Media Champion Laredo Kid. I think I got everybody. I don't think I missed anybody. As they took on the All-Stars that were Broken Matt Hardy, Ryan Nemeth, Danny Luna, Jody Threat, Sammy Callahan, Steph DeLander, Eric Young, and believe it, Joe Hendry. I think I said Nemeth too. Yeah, I did say Nemeth. As the All-Star team was the first team to come out, and as they're in the ring, Hendry cuts a promo and got a "We Believe" chant going to wrap up all of that. And it really, this was the first time I felt that TNA is starting to pay attention to how big Hendry is getting outside of TNA. In the mainstream media, I should say. I really hope they capitalize on this guy. I think they have a star on their hands with Hendry, and God willing, everything works in both the company's best benefit and Hendry's best benefit. This match had some weird rules, given the nature of how many people are on the teams. Both teams are allowed one person in the ring and two people on the aprons. I wasn't crazy about this match, guys. I like the concept of, like the star-studded match, but it just felt too I don't know. It just felt too perfectly timed out. It felt too choreographed. We were watching very clear rivalries taking place in the ring. Like, people who should be wrestling each other would. I mean, granted, there were some instances where that wasn't the case. As like we had Danny Luna taking on Laredo Kid, and that was a lot of fun. We had Steph DeLander afraid of taking on Masha Slamovich. There were some good points where people that didn't necessarily always interact finally did. Like, Nemeth hit a DDT on Mustafa and almost got the pin before Eddie Edwards broke it up. And eventually we had things like Ali wanting a tag, Moose rejecting the request and tagging Eddie in instead, and this sending Mustafa to just leave. He took his name off the match. He didn't want to be a part of it. He didn't want to be associated with it, and that led to it being an 8-on-7 match. Fast forward to the finish, because quite frankly, there was a lot of action in this very long match. I think it was like close to a half hour, if not maybe a little more, which tends to be long for a TNA match, especially on Impact. But the finish coming as Joe Hendry hits the standing ovation on Myers for the 1-2-3. Hendry absolutely looked like a star in this match, especially being a big part of not just the pin, but the overall ending last few minutes of the match, taking on multiple people within the system and just multiple people from that side. As all 8 winners are standing in the ring celebrating, we are interrupted by the thunder and lightning. As things go to black and white, we see doctors wheeling out somebody on a hospital bed. And of course, this is the monster himself, PCO. PCO is brought back to life with jumper cables, as is his shtick, and he walks to the ring with a mysterious black bag. Again, as commentary pointed out, we've seen lots of things come out of that black bag, whether it's glass or thumbtacks. Just recently, we saw Legos in one match. Instead, after PCO brings out a lot of different foreign objects and throwing them to the ring, he brings out a rose, a single flower that he tries to present to Steph DeLander. After a moment of hesitation, DeLander accepted the gesture from the French-Canadian Frankenstein, and that's how we ended the show. I love me a good old love story. I love Beauty and the Beast. So let's see where this goes. It's very weird. It's very unexpected, but I'll take it. Steph DeLander is a great talent, and I'm glad that she's doing more in TNA, despite Matt Cardona's injury, despite Matt Cardona being off the plans for the foreseeable future. I'm glad that she's doing stuff, and she's now involved in an angle with a very beloved talent in PCO. So I'm all for this. Let's see where this goes. It could get very weird very quick, but I'm going in with the utmost faith right now. But guys, that was TNA this week. That was Impact. It was a little bit of an up and down show for me. I think we had some really good matches like Macklin and Kazarian. and I'm sorry, the Jake something Cody Deaner spot and the Leon Slater Alan Angels match. I wasn't too crazy about the start of the show, and the main event was a little iffy for me, but overall, another solid episode of Impact for TNA, and I'm hoping they continue the momentum going into next week. I think next week's TNA is from a new set of tapings. I don't think it's part of this Albany set anymore, so we're definitely going to see some shakeups, hopefully. I really hope we get a more of an emphasis on Joe Hendry. I hope they do more with him. I'm excited to see where Steph DeLander and PCO go. And I'm very much looking forward to next week's matchup of Speedball Mike Bailey taking on Trent Seven. So, guys, let me know what you thought in the comments of TNA tonight of Impact. You know the deal. If you liked the video and you liked what I did and you like my face, hit the like button. I appreciate it. If you want to stick around with us, hit subscribe. Other than TNA, we, of course, cover WWE on Monday night for Raw and Friday for SmackDown. We cover AEW Dynamite, and we're covering as much of wrestling as we can right now. And if you're not just following us here and you want more of us, check us out on social media. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on X. We are on TikTok. We are everywhere. We're like a little earworm. We're just leeching our way into your brain. But, guys, I'm James Gisanti. This is the Market Down podcast. And on Thursdays, more importantly, it is the Gympact Zone. So give it, as always, watch TNA, watch wrestling, and have a good night.